Hi everyone, it's Heidi from flutterbyheidi.co.uk. I'm Heidi Smith. I'm an independent Stampin' Up demonstrator based in the United Kingdom, and today I'm sharing with you a project using the fabulous Sand and Sea suite from the mini catalogue, January to June, and it's this lovely card here, and you can see here what I've done is I've combined some of the designer series paper with the stamp set and the embossing folder and the dies to give this lovely seashell inspired card, which you could use for kind of any occasion really. My inspiration obviously has come from the designer series paper, which is this one here. And you can see on one side you've got lovely seashell themed and beautiful sort of ombre and salt effect patterns on the reverse in kind of predominantly pinks and blues, but with splashes of yellow in as well. So that's the So Saffron that's coming in there. It comes in 12 by 12 sheets. Here's the colour palette. And the embossing folder is absolutely beautiful, a 3D one. I've used it there on the pearlescent paper. I'm just using it on our standard basic white. And then you've got opal rounds and all sorts of things. If you'd like to see more of the stamp set and some of the other things in the suite, then have a look on my YouTube. There is a suite inspirations video on there where I sort of go through not only the projects but also all the different things within the suite. And then finally, I'm just going to share with you the suite sampler, the host stamp set. So if your order's £150, or you get together with friends and get a £150 order, as part of the Stampin' Award you get 10%. So and this stamp set comes in at £12, and you can see that you've got, this one is to go with the sea and sand, you've got one to go with fine art floral, dandy garden, hydrangea hill. So it's a really great one if you've got a couple of the suites from the catalogue. This one is a lovely extra. So let's get started. The first thing I've done is cut one of the die cuts out, the large die cuts. So with the dies, we've got this one big one which cuts out this beautiful piece here. So I've just cut one of those out from basic white. And the first thing we're going to do is actually stamp our images onto there. So you're going to want your stamping pierce mat. And there we go. So I've got some Blushing Bride ink here. So I'm going to actually reverse the colours. So I'm going to use this big Nautilus shell. Ink it up well. Then really, so if you can, stand over, sort of hover over, line it up. And you get all that beautiful detail straight away. From that, I'm then going to use my Seaside Spray. So a reminder that this colour isn't continuing, so this will retire. So if you want Seaside Spray, which is a really pretty one, then get it now while it's still available. So again, ink up and just hover. If you can stand up and do it and actually look down on it, even better. I'm just doing it at a slight angle, obviously because obviously I've got my tripod in the way. Helps if you put the stamp the right way around. But it is quite forgiving, especially once you put it through the embossing folder. You will find that it works really well, if it isn't quite, even if it isn't quite in the centre. So I'm just adding in the extra ones, even though I'm not going to use them, because one of the things that is great about this is that you can obviously build up images as you go along. And I've said this before, I keep a little pouch, usually with my stamp sets. There you go, I've got, this is my very vanilla one, and I've got the spare die cuts and images in there, so I can often quickly put together a card without any extra effort. Once you've done that, the next thing to do is to pop it into your embossing folder. And I find the easiest way to do this and to get it lined up is to line up some of these sort of fronds. Make sure they're lined up. Close it down, and then if you look through, you'll then see just, you know, whether you're reasonably well aligned, and I say on those fronds. think my cat's about to make an appearance, or maybe not. Right, so now I'm using, this is my cut and emboss machine. Great thing with the cut and emboss is that you've got plates that are numbered and tell you what the sandwich is. So all I need is my base plate, my folder and my grey plate. Just pop that in, roll it through, make sure they're square. That's me knocking the tripod, so it's probably gone all wobbly. And then pop that out of the way. And there you have the beautifully embossed images, fabulous texture. Okay, so now what we want to do is do a little bit of colouring. So you'll see here I've added a little bit of colour in those. So there's two ways you can do that. You can either take a blender pen, which is what I did here, add a little bit of the opposite colour, or in fact what you can do is use your Wink of Stella. So that's what I thought I might do today, although that one is my gold one. You could use the gold, but I've just got the clear, which is obviously a current one. And all I'm going to do is just take a little of my Seaside Spray, a little of my Blushing Bride, and then just colour those in. So a slight hint of pink. If you want a paler colour, just add a little bit more of your Wink of Stella. And you can, obviously create your own sort of pearlescent shells with just sort of hints of colour as you want, and obviously blending those two together you'll get sort of purpley shades as well. So I'm just adding a little bit to those as we go. Okay, so that's going to be, so while that is, you can see that's added a little bit of colour, pinks and blues, to kind of blend them in. While that's waiting to dry, I've just taken a piece of 7.5 by 10 centimetre DSP and layered that onto a piece that is 10.3 by 7.8, and that gives our nice just narrow mat on those. I have to say I was sort of spoilt for choice with these papers because the reverse of these papers is absolutely beautiful as well. Look at that. I love that sort of combination, but I do love these sand dollars in the pink and white as well. I have to say it's one of those papers that already I've ordered another one. Now, in the Sweet Sampler stamp set is another little stamp that you might have missed. So you can either use the one that comes with it, which is the one I've used on here, which is this lovely stuff Sprinkles, or we can use this little Bubbles one. So I thought we'd go for the Bubbles one. And all you need to do is just stamp those around the edge of where our card's going to be. So I'll perhaps need to come up slightly more. So I'm not sticking that down, I'm just kind of helping that to position where I want to do my stamping. You could obviously put it, pop it down and then add your bubbles in, and you might still want to do a little bit of that. But you don't need to. So these are lovely little bubbles. Bubbles are always useful. So there we go. So it just adds a little bit of texture to the back of our card, and I'm just going to pop another bit of the bubbles at the top. And once I've done that, I'm going to then add this layer to my card. And it's just nice sometimes to vary the angle on our cards. It doesn't always have to be nice and square. Now that might not suit you. You might prefer things to be very square, and that's fine. But it's quite nice, I think, to add something a little bit different. Now the other thing that you can do while we're at it is you could either stamp a shell on the inside there, or you could add just a few more of those bubbles as well, which I think is what I will do. Or obviously use the other shell image from the stamp set, from the Sweet Sampler stamp set as well. Hopefully that wasn't off camera. May well have been, who knows? Have a look. Oh no, it might be okay. Right, so again, our images now should be fairly dry, and all I'm going to do is come in with my snips and just release those images from the die cut. So just following the line round. So it's kind of, you know, easy fussy cutting. So we want that lovely big Nautilus shell. I'm also going to obviously, well, not obviously, it's obvious if you look at that card. I'm just going to trim this longer shell. And then take our small shell as well. And then I'm just going to grab some of the offcuts that you can see here of all these other ones. So I'm just going to take that little bit of seaweed from the bottom there, and then this piece up here as well. So we've still got a couple of shells that I can use on another project, some little scraps, and all that remains is now for us to assemble our card. Now, things that you'll need, some dimensionals for this, a little bit of wet glue as well. And the way I shape my shells is, although they've been through the embossing folder, I like to sort of curve those to give them a little bit more dimension, make them look a little bit more realistic. So you'll want a couple of those. Again, just of shape, just literally, but on the larger images you just need to bend them around. But what that means is, instead of sticking dimensionals all over the back on each of the edges, I keep them towards the centre, which allows those to curve around. And then I'm just going to place those on as where I think they're going to be. So I'm going to start with that top one. And pop our large Nautilus shell in, and then I add this to the fronds in towards the end, and then again this small shell here. Just decide where. I'm just going to trim that. You can just see that's where I've cut one of my other images off. So just make sure you round those images off. And that just adds a little bit more kind of texture feel. Now if you wanted to, you could obviously colour these green, or Sahara Sand, which is also in the colour palette. I rather like sort of the white, just it sort of, you know, ties in with the white of the seashells. Pop that at the bottom there. So again, a few dabs of glue on the base. It doesn't all have to be stuck down. So just pop that under the edge of the shell, and then one last dimensional, and pop that on the edge there. So there we have a pair of seashell inspired cards. You could always add a sentiment onto the front here afterwards, or pop it on a punch element, or just leave it as it is. You've probably gathered I like cards without sentiments. I can always add a sentiment when I get to gift it. So have fun. Thanks for watching. I hope you've enjoyed it. And if you'd like to purchase any of the products, pop along to my shop, heidismith.stampinup.net, and click on shop, or go to my blog, follow the links, or the description bar below here has all the links to the products used as well. So thanks for watching. Bye for now.